Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yanique Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, our guest is Alexandra Silva Labarr. Alexandra is an international speaker, author and founder of Xandra Marketing and PR, known as the Networking Queen, helping people build powerful connections and show up scared. So, without further delay, sit back, plug your earphones in, and let's jump into this awesome conversation with Alexandra. Welcome, Alexandra.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Awesome. Well, I just want to give you an opportunity in their own words, if you could share a little bit about your journey, how you got from where you were to where you are today.
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question, but I love it. I'll start off from a professional side. I've been in marketing and business development for now about 25 years. I started off in corporate America, and about 7 years ago, I decided to bet on myself and open up my own marketing firm. It was time. And during that time, right, we think it's our time. It was during COVID. So if you do the math, 7 years ago was COVID hit us a few months later. So here I am navigating through leaving my corporate job and going on my own. But yet the world shut down and the networking queen could not get out there and network. Everything had to be done digital. So I had to pivot, right? Pivot quickly and created opportunities and just giving back to the community and things like that to help others that felt, of course, that they've lost their jobs or wasn't sure what's going on. So that went on and we got through it, right? Here we are today, almost 7 years later. And business is a little different now. However, we're still using the digital structure that we all were forced to be on, those different platforms. More than ever, AI has taken over in that world. So currently, I'm thriving in Xandra Marketing. We help businesses with social media, their digital space. We help them with branding, really customizing their message to fit their ideal clients. We just take over all their marketing. We're helping with them. In addition, I became an author. I wrote my first book 5 years ago, where the power of networking. Networking has been something I've done so easily in my life, and that's probably from losing my mom at 13 years old, and had to learn that leaning on people and finding the right who's would get me to where I'm going. So during that time, I decided to write the book called The Power of Networking. It's now on Amazon. It's been 5 years, done so well. That opened up stages for me, took me across really the world to speak. In addition to Florida government employees, over 2,000 people. That was amazing last year. Was able to do that and really teach people how to connect deeper. And it's important for our business, right? To be able to connect. And then from there, I found myself on that stage saying show up scared, which is something I did my entire life. And the show up scared movement was born. I ended up writing my next book, which is called Show Up Scared, a memoir, and kind of tells you my entire life story and how I kept showing up scared in every chapter of my life and how I was just very resilient, kept going. And then again, God put in my heart to continue my journey as a writer, and I wrote my third book, which is Show Up Scared, a teen edition. I wrote that book for the teenager that I once was, and needed the guidance and needed the support and needed someone to tell me that it's okay to do it scared. So this book is so personal and so amazing. It hit bestseller on Amazon. I'm also now on stages speaking to schools, universities, and helping the young generation be able to show up scared and do it anyway. So it's been a fun journey, so much more going on, but giving you that high level kind of recap on where I'm at, where am I going, and how I got started.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for sharing. So, you are known as the networking queen with over 25 years in business development, marketing, and sales.
Mm.
What do you believe was a turning point that made you realize networking was going to be your superpower? And when did you decide to write The Power of Networking?
Yeah, thank you. This is such a great question. It just I think I decided to, well, let me answer the first question of how networking really helped me in my career. Networking I saw as the foundation of everything I did, with just my alliances that were able to connect with, business that I was able to get through just my connections, and then really the community that I had built. And the power in that networking is what helps you in your career. And sometimes, we think that people connecting with people is just for us to get business, but it's not. It's to build relationships, and maybe someone in your network needs them or they need them, right? So networking has been a huge part of everything that I've done. And why I decided to write a book is I wanted to share with others the importance of networking. And I saw how people were networking and they were doing it incorrectly. They were just
Mhm.
showing up, handing out business cards and expecting to get something out of networking when they weren't really doing it intentionally. So I created a framework around networking, which is my 7 essential C's of networking that I share across the world, right? I want everyone to follow these 7 essential C's because it will help you be a little bit more intentional on how you show up, the people you connect with, and will really ultimately help you in your business and your career.
Perfect. So I'm happy that you kind of dovetailed nicely into the 7 C's because that's actually my next question. Can you walk our listeners through the 7 essential C's of networking that you highlight in the book? And which one do you see people struggle with the most?
Yeah. So, well, a lot of them, but courage, is one of 'em, right? A lot of them, then they're different. So, courage, um, connection is another C. Classy is another C. Common ground, um, uh, consistency. So, I would say my favorite one, that I see people struggle with is, I'm gonna have to give you two. So one is courage, right? A lot of times we're like, well, how do I just show up? How do I get to these events? I mean, when I get there, I'm a little nervous, I'm scared. So number one, I put as courage because I feel that confidence is the gift that you receive from being courageous. People think they need confidence before they can do things in life or show up to an event or show up for their business, but really it's the courage to show up. So that number one is just pushing through it and showing up anyway and doing it scared. And the other one is common ground. I find that people really have a difficult time um, starting those conversations because it's like, okay, now I'm there, Alexandra. Now, how do I start a conversation? So building
Mhm.
common ground is so important. And that's about asking questions, getting to know the person instead of making about you. People get nervous and they start talking about their business right away without even building a relationship because they're nervous. They just, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do, I. And all the person's hearing is I instead of, getting to know them. So I would say those two are probably the most difficult one because number one, you have to show up, right? Before you could even do anything else. You got to pass through the fear. And number two, when you get there, have relationships, build relationships because you can't be consistent. You can't, you know, keep going with all the other C's or show up classy and build connections if you don't start it from there where it's really what do you have in common? And we all in business can find something we have in common. That person.
So a big on practical examples, Alexandra. And let's say one of our listeners that has tapped into this podcast when it is published is a small business owner and they are trying to get their business out there. They've probably joined a local association or a local chamber of commerce that they're trying to get their name out there. So they go to an event that this association has hosted. They have their business cards, they're armed with it in their bags. But as you said, they arrive and they're like standing in a corner. And you mentioned courage and common ground as the things that you see people struggle with the most. If you were in that business owner's position, how, just kind of walk us through what would you do exactly? I mean, do you just walk up to the person if they're talking with three people and just butt in and say, hey, I'm Alexandra, what's your name? What do you do? Like, where do you start?
Yeah. So yeah, very good question. First, start from the beginning. What event am I going to, right? Looking at the
Mm-hmm.
different organizations that you have in your community. I, for one, have a community of the power of networking community that I've created. We have 15 chapters just here in South Florida that we help business owners to get connected with their ideal client. But so find the right places to be, right? Because sometimes we're just showing up to events that don't really have anything to do with our business just because you wanted to go to an event. So be a little intentional of where you're showing up. When you get there, yeah, have the courage to get there and walk into these rooms and meet someone. And I'll give you two different examples. We'll start with the first one that you mentioned, where somebody, they're in a group of three people. That's really intimidated. I get when I coach people with this, that's something that they always say, like, there's three people. How do I walk up to them? And, it's like anything else. You're walking up and you're listening. You're not just going to introduce yourself right away. If they're having a conversation, just wait, kind of engage, and then politely introduce yourself. Say, hey, excuse me, so awesome to be here at this event. And my name is Alexandra Silva Labarr, and it's my first time here, and just looking to connect with business owners like yourself and learn and understand, who you are, what you do, and see how we can collaborate. So kind of like a more of a warm, not really talking about your business. You see how I never mentioned who I was in my business because nobody really cares, right? They want to connect with you. And then, as they kind of respond, and I'm sure they're going to ask you what you do, and that's when you kind of tell them a little bit. And it's a 30-second commercial. It's not everything you do. Don't start talking about all your services. And that's where people fall short as well. They're giving everything about, and people are just completely lost. They're not going to remember anything. Just that high level of what you do. So, who you are, how you serve, right? Meaning how can you serve and what about your business can you leave a lasting example or impression for that person to remember you and say, wow, almost like I think of it like a pain. What is the
Mhm.
pain that you're actually solving in communities and business, right? So for me, I would say something like I help businesses show up with courage and confidence for their business. So that person's walking away thinking, wow, I need her because I'm one of the business owners that are a little nervous showing up. So I'm just giving an example of like that pain at the end is what you need to create where people are like, wow, I need her services, or I help people with their financials, or I help people, live longer, by getting the right, healthcare, whatever. You
Mhm.
know where I'm going with that. So really important. So yeah, that's how you do it. And then the other example is, you're just walking in and you're meeting people and ask questions, hi, how are you? Is this the first time you've ever been at this event? If it's your first time, you can say, oh, okay, what is this event like? What kind of people are here? Now you're asking questions because people love to help, right? Or, then you can even engage in other things like how's your business going? What is the most challenging thing you're facing right now in this, season that we're all in, right? In this space that we're all in. So those kind of conversations, you get to understand the person's needs and what they're struggling with. And then you just dialogue, right? You start having conversations and you never know, you may be the person to help, or you may have someone that can help them. But at the same time, you just get to know them a little deeper and they'll remember what those pain buttons are or pain points were. So instead of saying, hey, what do you do? Or this is what I do, and focusing more on you, learn about the person. So that's the common ground that I'm talking about.
Awesome. In many of your examples that you've given, and even when I listened to you present on Saturday at Scorebroad's Business Summit, you spoke about the fact that a lot of times when people approach persons, they fall into the trap of talking about themselves. And I remember there's a book that I try to read at least once per year, was published in 1933, but I find the content in there still relevant to this day. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And he says in the book that the number one thing that people like to talk about is themselves.
Yeah,
So how do you like, take that into consideration? Because now you are not trying to be the person who is talking about themselves.
right,
You're trying to allow the other person to talk about themselves because ideally, regardless of who you're talking to, that's the number one thing most people like to talk about.
right. So I mean, it goes back to that, right? And it goes back. I'm when I'm saying don't talk about yourself, you do need to share with people what you do. It's the level of talking about yourself. Like There's people that talk too much about themselves where you've lost the person. So in order to get to know, there's another book called It's Not Who You Know, It's Who Knows You.
Mm-hmm.
To get to know someone, all right, or the person to know you, they need to know what you stand for. So those things are important to be able to share with people because no one's going to be able to advocate for you and support you in your business unless you tell them what you do. So I'm not shying away from that. Mine is more of having a conversation like we're doing right now, right? You're
Yeah.
asking questions, giving me a platform to be able to share who I am, what I do, how I serve. That's more of that conversation. So I do love what that book says. You're right. People love to talk about themselves, and you can use it as more of like an advantage where you're allowing that person because you know they love to talk about themselves, but asking questions where you get to answer certain questions to kind of connect with them a little deeper. But you're having the ability to talk about yourself as well because you're engaging in their conversation. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, it does. It does. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing, Alexandra. Now, we always like to ask our guests, do you have a book, maybe one or two that you've read? It could be books that you've read a very long time ago, or even books that you've read recently, but they've had a very, profound impact on you. And it can be either professional or personal.
So many books. Oh my goodness. I've been reading so many books, but I'm doing I'm doing a little bit of a project right now for something I'm working on, and I've been reading like more like novels, which is so not like me. So I have one here that I've been reading. It's the House Across the Lake. It's such a great book. It's more
Yes.
mystery, little mystery, and then reminders of her. I love Colleen. You
Mm-hmm.
know, yeah, she's one of my favorite like writers for like the novels and kind of taking you out of what your business. I'm so business and I'm a writer, right? So I'm always writing books. I read a lot of John Maxwell leadership books. Those are always amazing. Brene Brown, I mean, she's another one that is all about leadership. So I spend my time reading content to help personal development, but these other books get you out of your business mode and put you into like that character of outside.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've been on this last few months, just kind of reading those two books. And then I have my Audible that I, of course, love. And what am I? Oh, I have a few books on my Audible that I'm one of those people, believe it or not, that reads several books at a time. I don't know about you.
You're a serial reader.
I am a zero reader. Because sometimes I don't have the hard copy. There's some books that I need to read. Oh yeah, this one here I just started. It's Regretting You. It's actually a movie, another Colleen Hoover book, but there's a movie on this book here. It's called Regretting You, and
Mm-hmm.
I like to read the book first, just like reminders of him. I read there's a movie that was just out, so yeah, that's where I'm at right now, reading some fun stuff.
Awesome, awesome. So we'll have the links to those books in the show notes of this episode for those of our listeners that would like to tap into those awesome resources. We like to ask our guest, do you have let's say, an application, a tool, or a resource that you absolutely can't live without in your business,
A resource or tool that
or an application that you
oh
absolutely
yeah,
can't
I
live
mean
without?
I use AI, you know.
That's
um,
good.
yeah, I use the AI for everything. Claude, like I can't live without it. I mean it's like I've created three assistants just through it where
Mm-hmm.
the three assistants handle certain things that I need to get done, my task daily. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot run my business without it.
Perfect, perfect.
Get
All
into AI
right.
if you haven't yet, especially small
I
businesses that are listening. Take a
Is there
class.
is there any one that you'd recommend? I know you mentioned Claude, but is there any other one that you use that you'd recommend?
I mean, there's so many. I mean, it just depends on what the person's looking to do, for their business.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called May. Oh my gosh, May something. It's called. I could give you the information to leave it, but that's attached to your social media where someone responds to you, it automatically responds, and then of course your calendar can be all linked on to your for anyone that makes wants to make an appointment with you. It can send out messages and it can do it in a row, like first message, second message, three message, third message to connect. So I can send you the link, so you can post it here. Just some tools
Perfect.
to be more, productive, and you don't have to do the actual legwork. You could be sleeping, it's doing it for you. So yeah.
That's where we're going in this world.
The Claude,
Amazing.
they pretty much supported me in all the different things and tools, because I was like, this is what I need. And then from there, these are the different programs that can help you be a little more efficient with your business.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All
Less
right.
we want to do, right? So we can be more in our business and be
Exactly. Or be able to do more of the connection activities that you spoke about as it relates to
yeah,
building relationships, because that requires some level of engagement, not
ab-
just through, us talking on Zoom
yeah,
or have a digital interaction, but actually going somewhere and interacting with someone. So
yeah,
if you have a bunch of stuff automated that are the more rote activities, it gives you more time for that engagement.
absolutely. Because that's where you need to be in your business. Not, I don't know about you, but I'm not loving the administrative stuff. That's the stuff that nobody wants to sit and do, but you have to do it. But if you can automate
Yeah,
that, then it saves you so much time. Yeah.
agreed, agreed. All right. Could you also share with our listeners what's the one thing that's going on in your life now that you're really excited about? Either something you're working on to develop yourself or your people.
Yeah, so I'm getting ready to put together well, it's already together, a event coming up that I'm really proud of. It's on June 23rd, and it's going to be at the iconic Mayfair Hotel in Coconut Grove. And it's Show Up Scared, and it's the teen. We're bringing parents and their teens to come in. The teens can come in with for no cost. And then there's tickets available for parents. I made it very inexpensive, $25 to come in. And that evening, we're going to have a panel discussion with real teens, having dialogue on like the challenges they're facing. And I'll be doing a keynote speaking for my framework around Show Up Scared, the Feel Forward method that I designed. But I'm just so excited because we have like commissioners coming in. We have a lot of some leaders are coming in to be part of it, some sponsors. But it's going to be a 2 hour, from 6 to 8, an evening of just impact and helping our community. And more importantly, helping our youth, right, be able to show up scared through middle school, high school, and then going on to college. So this is right after school ends, so it gets them ready for the summer, and then messaging it around ready for the fall. Let's get back in the game and keep showing up even when you're scared. So we have a lot of leaders that are partnering up to do this. So that's what I'm really, really excited about right now. All my messaging will be around it. I'm super, super excited to give back to our community, and I think, to me, what better way to do it than investing in our youth. They're our
Agreed.
future, as right now, more
Agreed.
than ever.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And if we Googled, what's the name of the event? If we Google it, because we'd love to include a link
Yeah,
in the show notes of the
it's
episode.
my website, Alexandra Silva Labarr. If you go on to my website, you'll see the Show Up Scared Mayfair event, and it's all the
Okay.
information. Yeah, it's a beautiful event.
Awesome.
Can't wait. We're expecting about 150 people.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
super
So we'll have
excited.
the link for those of you that would like to tap into
Yeah,
supporting
bring your
Alexandra in
team.
that, or even to share with somebody who you know would benefit.
Absolutely.
All right. So, Alexandra, before we wrap our episodes up, there's one question we always like to ask, but I actually have two for you to ask.
Okay.
So, the first one is, do you have a quote or a saying that during times of adversity or challenge, you'll tend to revert to this quote? If for any reason you get derailed or you get off track, the quote kind of helps to get you back on track. That's
Mhm.
question number one. And then question number two is, if someone is listening to this episode and they're going to go on one networking event for, let's say, the month of May, which is more than likely when this episode will be published, what's the single most important mindset shift they would need to make to walk away with real connections?
Love it. Okay, so my quote is I have two. So I have the quote of my courage, right? That always keep, confidence is a gift that you receive from being courageous. A reminder that no matter what moment you're in, that courage needs to show up first, right? To take that move and just push yourself through the fear. And
Mhm.
then every year I come up with a word of the year. And this year the word is trust. So that word was picked intentionally to help me navigate through my days, my decision-making process. So everything that I'm doing, whether it's my business, personal, I go back to that word of trust and to see if it's in alignment with the values and, my principles of what I created for my year and it's all in alignment. So I think it's so important for that word that stays with you. So not so much just a quote, but that word. And then your other question is how can someone, make their event more meaningful, right? What can they do to make more impact? I think being intentional, know where you're going, come up with some conversation starters, right? I think it's preparation is key. If you know who your audience is going to be, come up with some conversation starters, like we talked about, building common
Mhm.
ground. And then make sure your follow up, make sure you have a system for follow up, because that's where a lot of networking gets lost. People network, but then there's no system to follow up on the people that they actually met. So make sure that you've
Mhm.
created that system. So when you get back, you have that few days to kind of look them up. And like you and I just met Saturday, it's Tuesday, we're already connecting. So what does that system look like for your follow up? That's how you're really going to have an amazing May, amazing business in May because now you're going to have your system and then just make phone calls, don't just rely on emails, pick up phones. People, I think, are hiding behind computers too much and text messaging. I think that make an effort to at least have conversations because people want to hear your voice. And I think that's where the authenticity really sits when you can hear and feel. And that's why you're doing a podcast so people could see and hear your audience, the voice, the passion behind what you do in your work and people do business with people. And when they can feel it and see it, they want to connect with you. So that's my.
Awesome. Wow. I love your response. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, Alexandra. So we have a bunch of people that would have tapped into this episode and they're like, this lady is awesome. I need to meet her. I want to connect with her. I want to follow her. Where is the best place that they can find you online if they'd like to connect with you or meet you?
So I kept it easy for everyone. Just my name, Alexandra Silva Labarr. If you Google that name, it's gonna pop up all my social media platforms, my websites, everything I'm involved in, all my events that I have coming up, any speaking opportunities that have coming up that you can find and see me. So just my name, Alexandra Silva Labarr, and you can reach me
Perfect.
every way. And I do respond, as you know. I love responding to people. I see a lot of people on LinkedIn. very active in LinkedIn as well. So yeah, connect with me and I'd love to hear and learn from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alexandra, for taking time out of your very busy schedule to kind of hop on this podcast, navigating the customer experience, and share with our listeners. Our podcast is geared towards helping people to improve on the quality of their customer experience. And I think what you spoke about today is at the heart of connection, getting to know people, building relationships, establishing that common ground, not just talking about yourself, but trying to understand what that other person is experiencing, what kind of pains are they experiencing, and how could you possibly add value? Even if you can't add value, maybe you may know someone who can and maybe provide them with that referral. So I think it was really insightful, and there are some practical insights and nuggets that you shared with us today that I know our listeners can put into practice immediately after listening to this episode.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Awesome. Just want to remind our listeners that you can follow us on X at Navigating CX and feel free to join our private Facebook group, Navigating the Customer Experience Community. Until next time, I'm your host, Yanique Grant.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.